The desert air shimmered under the mid-morning sun, the kind that blurred the horizon into a silver haze. The Black Hawk sat motionless on the tarmac, its once mighty rotors drooping like exhausted wings. For 2 days, engineers had swarmed around it, testing circuits, recalibrating fuel lines, rechecking power relays, but the bird refused to start. Chief Engineer Mason wiped his forehead with the back of his sleeve. "It's dead, Commander," he said, looking up from the open panel beneath the cockpit. "We've checked every diagnostic twice. The starter motor's fine, the APU's reading normal, but when we hit ignition, nothing." Commander Rhodes crouched beside him, hands on his knees. He was a tall, calm man, the kind whose presence alone steadied a whole base. "Nothing," he repeated quietly. "And we need that helicopter airborne by sundown." The engineers exchanged uneasy looks. The Black Hawk wasn't just any chopper, it was carrying the new Lancer Navigation Array, a classified system meant for night infiltration missions. The brass in DC expected it operational before the next sunrise. Mason exhaled. "Sir, we've done all we can. We might need to get another pilot to run the systems manually, someone who knows how to read its mood." Rhodes stood, silent for a long moment, then nodded toward the communications tent. "Get me clearance to bring in one name," he said. "She'll know what to do." An hour later, a dusty jeep roared across the airstrip. The woman who stepped out wore no insignia, just a plain flight suit, sleeves rolled up, a black cap pulled low over her eyes. She was compact, confident, and carried the kind of energy that silenced a crowd. The engineers stared. Mason frowned. "Sir," he said to Rhodes quietly, "you brought her. I thought she retired." Rhodes' mouth curved slightly. "She did. Until now." The woman approached the dead helicopter and set down her flight bag beside it. "So," she said, voice low but steady, "you broke my old bird." Mason blinked. "You're..." Rhodes answered for her. "Captain Mara Vance. She was the test pilot for the Lancer systems before they were even cleared for deployment. Flew the prototype Black Hawk in blackout conditions, no GPS, no backup power. She's the reason we have this model in the first place." Vance gave a small shrug, crouching beside the access panel. "And now you've flooded the fuel mix and overheated the ignition coil trying to start it like a standard UH-60. You don't brute force a Lancer Hawk, you coax it." The engineers exchanged skeptical glances. "Ma'am," Mason said carefully, "we've been following the manual." Vance smirked faintly. "Yeah, that's your problem. For the next 20 minutes, she moved around the Black Hawk with the precision of a surgeon. Every motion was deliberate, flipping switches, tracing wires, tightening clamps. She didn't speak much, only muttering to herself under her breath like she was conversing with the machine itself. Rhodes watched from a few steps away. He'd seen her work before, years ago in Afghanistan, when an engine fire mid-flight should have brought her down. Instead, she'd landed the bird safely with half a control system fried and a wounded squad onboard. "Commander," Mason whispered, "no disrespect, but even if she gets the systems back, we still can't engage the start sequence. It's like the bird's brain is locked." "Let her finish," Rhodes said simply. Vance climbed into the cockpit, her fingers brushing across the flight controls like she was reacquainting herself with an old friend. She paused, adjusted a single dial on the auxiliary panel, then looked out toward Mason. "Your diagnostics were right," she called. "But the bird's memory core isn't syncing with the onboard power module. It's in safety lockout mode. Happens if the system detects multiple ignition failures." Mason blinked. "That's impossible." "We didn't." "You did," she cut in. "Every failed start added to the fault log. You've got to override it manually. From here." She reached down, removed a small steel cover, and revealed a hidden circuit node beneath the throttle quadrant. "This," she said, tapping it with her screwdriver, "is what they don't put in the manual." Rhodes smiled faintly. "You always did hate manuals." She gave him a sidelong look. "Manuals don't fly aircraft. People do." The sun had started to dip low, painting the horizon in copper and crimson. A small crowd had gathered now, base crew, maintenance staff, even a few pilots standing at the edge of the runway, curious to see if the legend was true. Vance powered up the auxiliary unit, fingers dancing across the switches. The Black Hawk hummed faintly, a soft vibration running through its frame. "There you are," she whispered. You're waking up. The screens flickered to life, one after another. The sound of relays clicking filled the cockpit like a heartbeat returning. Mason's jaw slackened. It's responding. Not yet, she said. One last thing. She reached into her bag and pulled out a small flight data key, old, scratched, with her name etched on the side. This bird knows me, she murmured. Let's remind her who's flying. She slotted the key into the panel. The startup tone deepened, a sound every pilot knew, the machine's breath before life. Fuel pumps engaged, she said softly. Ignition, now. The rotors groaned, shuddered, then roared to life. Dust swirled across the tarmac as the blades accelerated, faster, stronger, until the air around the Black Hawk became a storm of sound and wind. The engineers backed away, shielding their faces. Mason stared in disbelief. She did it. Rhodes just stood there, watching the machine that had defied every fix until now, alive again under her hands. Dash dash dash. Vance let the rotors settle into a steady rhythm before powering down. When the engines wound to silence, she stepped out of the cockpit and removed her cap, her hair damp from sweat. Commander, she said simply. She's ready for flight, but I'd recommend recalibrating the power sync after your mission, she's running a little hot. Rhodes nodded. We'll handle it. You staying for the sortie? She hesitated, then smiled faintly. No, I just came to wake her up. She'll fly fine for whoever's next. Mason stepped forward, still in awe. Ma'am, how did you even know what was wrong? We ran every test there is. Vance's gaze softened. Because machines have moods, Chief. And this one was scared. You don't yell at a bird that's been through battle. You listen. She'd patted the fuselage lightly, as if saying goodbye to an old friend, then turned toward the fading horizon. Rhodes called after her. You saved us again, Mara. She paused just long enough to answer without turning. I didn't save anything. I just reminded her how to fly. And as the wind swept across the silent runway, the legendary pilot walked away, leaving behind a helicopter that, for the first time in days, seemed to hum with quiet pride. The engineers stood watching her disappear into the sunset, and Mason exhaled. You know, he said softly, if that's what retirement looks like, I don't think she ever really stopped flying. Rhodes nodded, his eyes still on the departing figure. No, he said. Some pilots never land. They just find new skies.